Thought I'd make a little video about people just getting into using whole leaf tobacco to make up their own blends of pipe or cigarette tobacco. It's not that difficult. I'm going to start out here with 4 different kinds. If you look over here, there's a little pile of Turkish tobacco. It's this particular tobacco is Turkish Prelep, and it's got small leaves, so you don't have to worry about the center rib in these leaves. It'll shred up just fine. Next to that, I have 1 leaf of Tennessee burley. I've misted it down a little bit to soften it up some because it had dried out a little too much. I may have wet it down too much. Who knows? It doesn't really matter a whole lot. You want it pliable enough that it'll shred. The reason I only have 1 leaf of it is because you really don't want to use very much. So we'll separate those. My next pile is Virginia Brightleaf tobacco. As you'll see, it's got the big center rib still in it. And next to that is regular Virginia flue cured tobacco. It's a darker leaf and it has a fuller flavor than the bright leaf does. So to start out, when you're first blending, you want to try the Virginia flue cured and the bright leaf by themselves in a cigarette and see how you like the taste. And then you want to start adding in your flavor. Flavor being the Prelep or Izmir, you know, your Turkish tobacco, and your burley. I can tell you from experience, the Turkish tobacco adds a really nice flavor without increasing the harshness of your tobacco. The burley adds a nice flavor, but if you put too much in, your tobacco will be very harsh. So one of the tools we're going to need is a scale. Nice little digital scale. These are inexpensive. You can get them for under $10 online. And this one's really nice because it measures down to the hundredths of an ounce. Don't know if you can see this. We'll move the camera. And we'll zoom in here a little bit. You can see it measures 2 decimal places to the right to the hundredth of an ounce. I also use these cheap little bowls you can get from the grocery store to measure how much tobacco I'm using. So we'll zero that out to let it know that not to measure this bowl. I don't have any tobacco shredded right now to put into the bowl and measure things out, and we'll get started on that in just a second. I like to use percentages to determine how much of each tobacco I'm using. So to do that, I get my little notepad, put that out of the way, turn that off for now. There we go. 1 cigarette is 0.04 ounces of tobacco. Now if you're going to try to go 1 cigarette at a time, you're going to do a lot of math figuring that 0.04 ounce. So I make things a little simpler. What I'll use is 0.10 ounces of total tobacco, and with that I can figure my percentages just using the 10. So I'm going to start off with 90% Virginia Brightleaf, so that would be 0.09 ounces Brightleaf, and 10% Turkish tobacco, which would be 0.01 ounces Turkish. Makes it simple. If I like that, that gives me my 90%, 10% blend. If I want a little bit more flavor, I might decide to go with a blend of Brightleaf and Virginia Flue Cured and Turkish. How that would work out, I would go maybe, let's say, let's go 50% Brightleaf and 40% Virginia Flue Cured and 10% Turkish. So your measurements on your scale would be 0.5, 0.4, and 0.01. And you can continue like that until you find the exact cigarette you like best. So that's enough preliminaries. Let's get started with the real thing. Okay, I'm going to start off with a leaf of Virginia Brightleaf, and I'm going to take the center rib out of it. Here it is right here. It's a fairly heavy little stem, and we just kind of hold the leaf and pull the stem out. Doesn't matter if you put holes in it. You're not going to worry about that because you're going to shred this up. And the stem pulls out pretty easy. You just go on down the leaf until you get it all, and the stem is out. The next step, I'll put a little bowl under here to catch my my shredded tobacco. The next step is to shred it. Got this. Can you see that? Yeah. Got this nice little shredder here I bought online. Looks like a pasta machine. Basically it is. It's half of a pasta machine, but it's been modified a little bit. The edges of the cutters are serrated to pull the leaf through the cutting wheels. So we set our leaf in the machine and we just start cranking. And it cranks it on through. When the leaf doubles over, it can get a little tough to crank because it becomes thick at that point. But you just keep on going. It'll go through. You're not going to hurt it. Okay. We now have our Virginia Brightleaf. It's way too much tobacco for what we're going to be mixing up, but that's alright. And let's see, we're going to take a leaf of regular Virginia Flue Cured, pull out the center rib. It's the same process used before. Take hold of the leaf itself, grab that center rib, and rip it on out. Now you probably notice holes in the leaf. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just part of how it comes off the farm. So we're going to mix this up, or shred it up. Just feed it through the shredder. Goes through fairly nicely. And once again, that's Going to be more than what we'll need for our blending experiment for today, but that's alright. Alright, we're going to set some things aside. Alright, Virginia flue cured, Virginia bright leaf. And now we're going to take our Tennessee burley. I'm going to rip this half of the leaf off now. It's too moist to use at this point. I wet it down too much. And so it's going to have to air dry a little bit. I'm not in the least bit worried about that. We will let it air dry. This is some pretty aromatic stuff. It does. It adds a lot of flavor to your cigarette, but Tennessee burley's a little harsh. I don't know of anyone who would want to smoke it all by itself in a cigarette, make 100% cigarette out of it. I certainly wouldn't. I like my smokes a little on the light side. Not going to shred it just yet. We're going to let it sit for a little bit by its lonesome. Let's see, we've shredded that, we've shredded that. Let's get some Turkish going here. It's easy to shred. If the leaves are folded up, don't worry about it, just shred them anyway. Okay, we've got Turkish Prelep, small pile. So let's start making up a cigarette blend. We'll turn our scale on, let it zero out. Alright, so we're going to start off with our first blend here, this one here. We're going to use a total of 0.1 ounce, 1/10 of an ounce. And so we're going to put 9/100ths of an ounce of bright leaf and 1/100th of an ounce of Turkish together. Now it's real easy. We'll get our bright leaf here, pinch off a little bit, and we'll put that in. And we'll see how it measures. That was 0.04. That's a little bit too much. It's 0.11, so we'll take some out. 0.08. 0.09. Exactly what we want. Okay. The only thing left is the 0.01 of Turkish, and we don't have to redo anything. We can just leave that there because we're going after 0.1 total anyway. So we'll put our Turkish in there, and that's a little bit much. Pull out a couple of strands, and there we are. 0.1. Well, we can turn that off now. Now I want you to look at something. There's the Turkish. Right there. Not much of it, just a little bit. So how are we going to mix this? It's not that tough. What we're going to do is we're going to take our tobacco and we're going to start doing this to all of it. It's like hand tossing a salad, and we're breaking up the strands a little bit. We don't want to make powder out of it. Obviously, we don't want to do that. But we do want everything mixed together. And so we just kind of sit there and separate it, separate the strands and let it fall back together, and just keep turning it over. And you do that until you can't really tell where the Turkish starts and the bright leaf ends, or vice versa. And it looks like a really nice little mix. And there's the mix. I just went ahead and I did that over and over, and it only took a few seconds to get that mix right. So there's the mix. The only thing left to do is roll a cigarette out of it. You've got several methods. So what we'll do is we'll use the non-filtered hand-rolled method. Adding a filter will change the taste quite a bit. So here's my roller. I'm going to take my tobacco, set it in there, and just kind of even it around a bit. And close it up. Pinch off what looks to be too much extra, and give it a few rolls to smooth it out, just like that. Our next step is a rolling paper. Now this is 70 millimeter rolling paper, a 78 millimeter roller. See the 78 there? So you're going to have some room. Well, actually, maybe they match up good. All right, and I'm letting the paper fall out. All right, get the paper started. Roll it nice and loose. Wet the gummed edge. Roll it on in. Pop it out. There's your cigarette. That's a little crinkled, but don't worry, it'll smoke. Now we're going to try it. Well, it's not a heavy cigarette. It's got some flavor to it. Tastes alright. So what we're going to try now is our 50% bright leaf, 40% Virginia flue cured, and 10% Turkish. 0.5 bright leaf. Not going to be very much. That's 0.4. Still 0.5. There we go. Okay. So now we want 0.4 of Virginia flue cured, which will bring the total up to 0.09. So put that in until we have 0.9. There we go, 0.09. Now we just need, well, that's not good. It turned off on me. So we'll turn it back on. Put our empty cup on it, zero it out, and put our tobacco back in. Should be 0.09. Alright, so we need 0.1 of Turkish. That's a bit much. So we'll pick out our Turkish until we've got 0.10. Now I'm being anal about this. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect like that. There we go. Now we've got it just the way I wanted it. .10. Alright. Once again, we come in and we start mixing by kind of tearing things up turning our long shreds into shorter shreds. And we keep going until such time as it appears to be all completely mixed up. And if you want to, every now and then you can take another one of these little bowls and upend one end to the other so that you get the bottom on the top. Like I said, it's like hand tossing a salad, trying to get everything evenly distributed. And that should be good. So let's roll us another smoke. There's your cigarette. Light it up and see how you like it. I can tell you right now that the Virginia Flue Cured did add a little bit of harshness to it, but it also added more body to the smoke. So that's the basics of blending cigarettes. I hope this was informative.